Hey everybody, my name is Doug with BenzsandBowties. This is Joe with JW Auto. Joe and I work together, and we thought we would take some time today to go over the new 2025 G-Wagon, which was just released in its first variant, the G550. We also have the G580E coming later this year. That'll be the first all-electric G-Wagon. And then at the very end of the year, we will have the G63. Joe, if you'd like to say hello, introduce yourself a little bit.
How's it going, guys? My name's Joe Wisniewski. So not too often behind the camera of anything. Obviously, mainly post a lot of things, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Figured I'd hop on here with Doug and we'd go talk about the new G-Wagon variants for you guys today.
We only have one working microphone today, so my apologies to everybody that doesn't like my little fluffy dude. Joe, the big topic with the G550 is the switch from the V8 to the 6. Do you think it's going to be a big deal?
So for the 550, I think it makes sense. You're obviously going to notice it sound-wise is going to be about the only thing probably is a detriment to it. But other than that, it's going to be all positives because you're actually going to have a pretty solid increase in fuel economy with it. And a lot of the people that are buying the 550, they don't necessarily care about, or maybe some of the performance things that come with that. If you're caring about that, then you're going to be looking at the 63 anyway. So mostly pros as far as the engine is concerned for the vehicle.
One thing I've noticed with each passing year is more separation in price point between the 550 and the 63. I think that more than ever, it isn't going to be a big deal. But 443 horsepower, that's a big number out of a six-cylinder, and it's going to be a mild hybrid for the first time. I really don't think it's going to be a big deal. So in 2024, the G550 started at 143. And for this year, it's starting at 148,250. When I look at what we've got incoming in G550 here at the port, I see MSRPs that range from 159 up to all the way up to 178, but a lot of them are kind of in that 160 to 168 range. We don't have pricing yet on the 2563.
So from what I've been told on the 63, we're going to be looking probably like low twos as a starting point. So you'd have to imagine like 220s to 230s for most of these G-Wagon builds. There's going to be a big price difference, obviously.
So it sounds to me like we could realistically have a $50,000 to $70,000 gap in between those two vehicles, which I personally think is good because in 19 when they first came out, the difference was about 15 grand, and that made the 550 a really tough sell. Everybody looked at it like, well, 135 for a 550 or 150 for a 63. I'm going to get the 63, but now it's a real choice. Do I want to spend 160 or do I want to go all the way up to 220? All right, so let's talk about what's new for this year. So most of the changes are going to be to the technology of the G-Wagons. You have a lot of insider knowledge on this, right? You were kind of getting some of the intel before a lot of us were. What are the biggest changes that people are going to be excited about with the G?
So I think one of the biggest changes is going to come on the 63, and it's actually the suspension. The couple people online that I've seen review it as well be able to actually drive it. They said the biggest change to them was the suspension of the vehicle, which it was already a massive improvement once it got redesigned in 19 from what it was previously. But now they really stepped up and changed the suspension in a big way. Obviously, the tech of the updated MBUX is going to be huge. Having a touchscreen now, which everyone obviously has been really wanting out of AMG and Mercedes for quite a while for the G-Wagon, and then also the keyless entry and exit as well too, being able to have that with your doors so you don't have to pull your key out every single time, while still being able to maintain the locking sound that G-Wagons are famous for.
I've had a lot of people that are excited for that. I look at keyless entry kind of like heated seats. Once you've had it for the first time, it's almost impossible to go back to not having it. That is a small thing that I know people are really going to appreciate. So professional package returns for 2025, which I love. I think that because the 550 is a little bit less aggressive looking than a 63 to begin with, when you put that professional package on there with the smaller wheels, the roof rack, I think that makes it look like a proper off-roader.
Absolutely.
So I absolutely love that. And it will be available for the 63 this year, won't it?
Yes,
yeah.
It will.
So that's a big deal. So you finally get some differentiation in the 63s that we haven't had before. Let's move on to the G580E. This is a really exciting vehicle. We've never had an all-electric G-Wagon before. I've read a lot of really cool stuff about this. I cannot wait for us to get one. It sounds like this is actually going to be the most capable off-roading G-Wagon ever built, which seems like it wouldn't be the case. What have you heard about the G580E that's unique to the other G-Wagons?
So aside from the 4 independent electric motors that are on each wheel, that is a huge thing for off-roading ability. There's a little bit of technology difference to the way that power is distributed. You're able to even control it more, on off-road surfaces. It's also basically a built-in skid plate underneath the entirety of the vehicle to protect the batteries from anything if you're off-roading. So that's another built-in benefit for off-roading as well.
So the specs are pretty impressive. Again, this is an electric vehicle, but you're talking about 579 horsepower. They have quoted the acceleration at 4.6. Mercedes-Benz notoriously conservative with those. This sounds like an extremely fast G. Not that anybody needs it to be that fast, but if they're quoting 4.6, I bet you it's going to be close to 4.
For sure.
Which sounds crazy that the flying brick could possibly go that
Right.
fast. Calendar year 2024 production is going to be different. We're not quite sure what next year is going to look like, but what can you build for this calendar year?
The G580, they're all going to be edition ones. So everything that you're going to see with those vehicles for the first model year is going to be an additional one. So special interior options, blue carbon fiber trim. That being said, you will be able to have 5 different exterior colors on that. So they're not all going to look the same on the exterior, but they will all be special editions, that first year. But just going back to the vehicle in general, I personally think that it is a vehicle that makes complete sense from an electric perspective. Mercedes nailed it, not changing anything that people, love about the vehicle. They kept all of that, only improved upon it, and then electrified it. So I think it was a home run for Mercedes.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very excited, and I'm glad that we didn't go with the more traditional EV styling that sort of differentiated those cars from anything else in our model lineup. You've got Arabian Gray, Obsidian Black, Moonlight White Metallic, Moonlight White Magno. Magno is matte paint in Mercedes-Benz world, and then South Sea Magno. So you've got a lot of colors to choose from to make sure that they're not all going to look the same. And then now here's the big question that I've been asked several times already. How do you think these are going to hold value compared to the other G-Wagons? And I struggle to find an answer. My gut tells me that I think they will hold their value extremely well. Of course, evidence for almost any other EV in the world would suggest otherwise. But G-Wagons tend to just sort of defy all logic. So what's your gut tell you on how these are going to do?
So personally, I think they're actually going to defy what everything else is doing. I think they're going to hold value incredibly well. I think they're probably going to follow suit more so with the 550 as far as that market. So maybe slightly depreciate after the first couple of years or so, but not fall off a cliff like so many other EVs are doing nowadays. So I think they'll hold value pretty well.
That is the one burning question I think everybody have. Part of me thinks that you're going to have those people that have to have it right when it comes out. Right? There's already a number of those that we've spoken with and that are in line for it. After that, I feel like there's going to be a feeling out period where you're going to have some people waiting to see what happens with that car. But it is still a G-Wagon. So, all right. So then on to the truck that everybody always wants to wait for.